Hello and welcome to another edition of Talkin' Tunes. I am your host, Frank Walsh, and ladies and gentlemen at home, I have to tell you, for the next 30 minutes, I want you to sit back and relax. And I wouldn't even mind if you buckled up some seat belts, because we are going to be rocking and rolling on this show today. I have a very special guest who, believe it or not, has taken a year to come back. He was here a year ago. He was here with his son, Neil Hammond, and you might remember him as Mr. Neil Hammond. So, without further ado, Neil.
Frank, great to see you.
What's taken you so long to come back?
It was a fast year. It's only a week.
It's been a year.
Yeah, I know, but it went by like a week.
I have to ask you.
Wow.
Did you go home last year, or have you been sitting here for a year just waiting in anticipation to be back?
You know, it kind of seems like that I never left, actually, because I think we talked about another show, and it took a year to get here.
Well, I think that is your fault and not mine.
I'm sorry, I
you,
apologize.
That was one of the best shows that we had ever done, and I don't think that I have enjoyed a show or had as much fun as we did the last time you were on.
Yes, I enjoyed it very much myself, and it was awesome singing with you at the end of that show, and I really, really enjoyed it. That's why I'm back.
I tell you,
I figured I owed it to you.
Well,
because,
I owe it to you because we have a fan base out there that has been just clamoring to have you back. So rather than go on with our Mutual Admiration Society here, let's talk about why you're here. I understand that you have something that's very near and dear to your heart.
Yes.
That goes back several years, and it has been known as the day the music died.
Yes, yes.
So, Neil.
Actually, it's 56 years ago.
56 years ago.
I believe. You can do the math on that.
Why is that so special to you?
Well, it was so special for me because I was 14 years old and I was selling newspapers outside the emergency ward of the Boston City Hospital on Albany Street.
Know it well.
And I was 1 month shy of 15. And of course, I've had the newspapers and I had the headlines, and I thought I lost a member of my family. I was sick in my stomach, and it was a sad, sad day when that took place. And the whole week was sad, obviously.
Now let's enlighten the folks at home, for those one or two who may not know what that story is about. So why don't you give a little bit of history about the day the music died?
Well, the day the music died, there was three legends who were just producing some great music, and they all had hits on the charts. And it was the Big Bopper, Buddy Holly, and Richie Valens. And they were just rising stars and breaking all kinds of records with their music, and we lost something that God only knows that what the future would have been in music, where they would have took it, and what we lost. And we lost a lot, and it was dubbed the day the music died.
Now, you know, the three people who you mentioned, I mean, all great talents in their own right, and they were very young.
Very young. The Big Bopper was 28 years old, and Buddy Holly was 21, and Richie Valens was only 17.
It amazes me when you hear how young they were, and yet you listen and understand the music that they produced. You know, obviously Richie Valens, La Bamba, everybody knows La Bamba.
Love it.
And Buddy Holly, his anthology speaks for itself. He has more songs than I can even remember.
Yes.
And every one better than the next one.
Yes. I think Buddy Holly was probably the best. Because he really worked on music. His life was working on improving the sound and dubbing over songs. He did some things that were never done.
Right.
And so I think Buddy Holly was the one that was way out front.
Yeah.
But Richardson was the Big Bopper.
Yep.
And Richardson did some amazing things that a lot of people didn't know. He wrote songs, and a couple of songs he wrote, one was a song called White Lightning that George Jones, the legendary country singer, got his first #1 hit out of.
Right.
And then he wrote another song called Running Bear.
Running Bear,
Yes.
love little white girl.
Yes. And,
Know it well.
And that was, I believe, a #1 hit. And he wrote it for a friend of his. He sang on it on the background of the record, but he wrote it for a friend of his, and that became a #1 hit.
I know, but I understand that when he
wow.
wrote that, you know,
Yeah.
he wrote that, and they told his mother what the title of the song was, and she said, "Hey, put some clothes on."
She didn't want him to be
Running Bear. You know?
Oh, that's right.
It'll hit you at home, folks.
Yeah.
It might take a beat or two, but you'll get it sooner or later. You know.
I love that song.
It is
I
a-
never knew the history until I started studying and getting a little prepared to get some information. But it was something about him that I didn't know at all. Actually, I just knew that Chantilly Lace was his. He did a lot of other songs, but that was his big one. It was the hit at the time when the airplane went down. The airplane went down February 3rd, 1959.
Yep.
And that was dubbed the day the music died.
Well, I think that it's time for us to keep a little bit of that music alive.
Yes.
And speaking of the Big Bopper, I understand that
Yes.
you have been practicing a little bit, one of his greatest, if not his greatest hits. So what are you going to be playing for us?
I think we're going to do Chantilly Lace.
Chantilly Lace.
Yes.
Well, you know, you might want to grab that guitar.
Okay.
And
Go to
I
this-
am going to direct our esteemed producer today, Michael Hammond. So Michael Hammond, we are going to present to you your dad, Neil Hammond, doing Chantilly Lace. Take it away over there, Neil.
Okay. Hello, baby. This is the Big Bopper speaking. A Chantilly lace and a pretty face and a ponytail hanging down, a wiggle and a walk and a giggle and a talk. Love makes the world go round. There ain't nothing in the world like a big-eyed girl. Make me act so funny. Spend my money, make me feel real loose like a long-neck goose. Ah, baby, you know what I like. Chantilly lace and a pretty face and a ponytail hanging down, a wiggle and a walk and a giggle and a talk. Love makes the world go round. Ain't nothing in the world like a big-eyed girl. Make me act so funny. Spend my money, make me feel real loose like a long-neck goose. Ah, baby, you know what I like.
Well, I think your passion and you know, the enthusiasm that you put into that really came through. Yeah. And I noticed that as you were doing that, we had a little bit of nostalgic background there for you at the Surf Ballroom.
Yes, isn't that amazing?
Unbelievable.
Yes, that was the last winter dance, which has been dubbed that naturally as last winter dance party.
Cool.
And that was the last time they performed, and that's where the plane came out of that state, Iowa, and crashed shortly after they left the airport where they were. And, yeah, so that's pretty nice to be playing outside the Surf Ballroom.
Well,
yes,
very cool.
absolutely.
You sounded great.
Thank
but,
you.
You know, to extend that story a little bit, you know, the day that the music died, several years later, some guy by the name of Don McLean wrote a song called American Pie. And American Pie is supposed to have told the story of the day the music died all the way through the transition in music into the 50s, 60s, into the 70s. So why don't you chat a little bit about that? You've got some little anecdotes about that song.
Well, it was in 1971 is when Don McLean
Correct.
Put the song out there. And I remember it at the time. It didn't mean a whole lot to me because I lived through the time of the plane crash, and I was selling newspapers, and it was on the headlines in 1959. So a lot of people, if you ask them, and that's kind of one of the things that inspired me to kind of do the show a little bit, to go on with this, is I was at a cookout, and most people, when you ask them about the day the music died, they came up with Don McLean's song. But that was 12 years later.
Yep.
So it's like, wow, they kind of missed what really took place here.
Right.
And that was one of the things that was in my head to do the show when you asked to do another show.
Right.
I said, wow, that would be kind of good to put that out there with some more information about the the singers and their lives and their age and
Right.
the dates.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Don McLean never really came out because if you know that song, it is very symbolic, it's very metaphorical, and it can be interpreted in many different ways. And one of the best answers, and I think I've said it on other shows, he had been asked many, many, many times over the years to really explain what he meant. And he would always leave it open to interpretation and say, hey, it's whatever you want it to be. And they said, well, Don, what does that song mean to you? And then finally he gave one of the best answers I ever heard of a question. They said, Don, what does this song mean to you? And he says, it means I'm never going to have to work a day again in my life.
Right.
Because the money he made off of that.
Yeah, we all know this with the song and the times, and it was amazing. But again, I lived through the time, and I lived through their music, and I was a teenager.
Right.
I was having a great time with their music.
Yeah.
Dancing with the girls. Jitterbugging was the top dance at the time, and then was the records that we danced to.
Right.
Did the jitterbugs,
Well, I think that song really captured the transition because, as I understand it, it kind of picked up at the point where, the doo-wop and the rock and roll and folk music was really in vogue. Pete Seeger, Joan Baez, they were really big at that time.
Yes.
Then all of a sudden, there was a transition that came in with Elvis Presley, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones. All the music started shifting, and basically what that story tells is it kind of paints a picture through words and through images that transition from the 50s, the 60s into the 70s with references from many different groups. I mean, from the Byrds to the Beatles to the Rolling Stones to Dylan to Mick Jagger to
an awesome
so
time,
many
an awesome time
so
to
many
live through. I
different
loved
people.
it. Everybody you named.
Oh,
I loved it. Yeah, I did.
Unbelievable. Even at the end, Janis Joplin.
I love Janis
Joplin, how it ends,
I
But the three men I admired most, the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, they caught the last train to the coast, last plane to the coast.
I love
The day the
Janis. I have
music died.
Janis Joplin songs. I do.
Well, you're going to have to come back another time, and you're going to have to do
I'm
some
going to have to do Janis Joplin? Okay.
You keep this
I
up.
can do it.
We're just going to have to, bring it back 20 times. The heck
I'll
with
bring
all
my
the other
wig
guests.
and I'll look like Janis.
Absolutely. But as you know, time passes pretty quickly.
Yeah,
so
right.
let's go back to
Yes.
to someone who you want to sing about now. Whose song?
Well, let's talk about Richie Valens a little bit.
Okay.
One thing I like to kind of throw out, I mean, at the Times in 1959, which Richie Valens, when he popped onto the scene, his real name is Richie Venezuela.
Venezuela, correct.
And Richie, because of his Latino connection, he was Mexican descent, that would not play very well in people's minds back in the late 50s.
Right.
So they felt that it would hurt him on selling his records and, of course, making money. And, of course, Richie was really, really against changing his name because he was proud of who he was.
He was proud of his heritage,
And he
yes.
was proud of his name, absolutely. But he caved in, and they changed his name and dropped it down to Richie Valens. And being only 17 years old, pretty amazing story about him.
Yep.
And he had some hits, and one of the hits that he had at the time that was at the Winter Dance Party was Donna.
Oh, Donna.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it was #1 at the time or where exactly it was, but it was way up there, and it was a hit song. And I think that's the one that I would do right now.
Well, why don't you grab that guitar,
Okay.
and ladies and gentlemen at home, sit back and relax. Listen to Neil Hammond sing Oh, Donna.
Okay. Ooh, Donna, ooh, Donna, ooh, Donna, ooh, Donna, I had a girl, Donna was her name, since she left I never been the same, 'cause I love my girl. Donna, oh, where can you be? Where can you be? Ooh, Donna, ooh, Donna, ooh, Donna, ooh, Donna.
Who was that masked man who kind of snuck out of the booth and joined you? That face looked pretty familiar.
If I remember right, I think it's my son.
Michael Hammond.
Looks like him.
Wow, I tell you, he's a magician. I mean, here he is in one hand pushing the buttons, and the next hand he comes flying in here and starts doing a duet with you.
And he's a ventriloquist, too. I mean, he does the whole thing by himself.
Not only is he a ventriloquist, he can talk without his mouth moving.
That is amazing, amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, always
unbelievable.
fascinated me.
Well, that was kudos to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you in the booth there, Michael. Nice job.
Absolutely.
Unexpected pleasure. I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go back to to some of those stories, and why don't you continue talking a little bit about the Don McLean and the three individuals there, if you have any other anecdotes that you might want to share.
Yeah, the big one, like I said, to really influence the music at the time was Buddy Holly, and Buddy Holly just had some terrific songs that he did, and I think we're going to do one of his now. And is there anything you want to say that you want to add to Buddy Holly?
Well, I was
21 years old.
just a wee little boy at that time when he was around.
Yeah.
But to this day, I can hear Buddy Holly's influences in so many other musicians.
Yes.
And I think that that truly was a day where the music died, but it lives on.
Yeah,
it lives on.
It only died really for one day,
Exactly.
technically.
Yeah.
And because music exploded, rock and roll exploded.
Amen.
And the other, Buddy Holly opened for Elvis Presley at one time. On
I heard that.
Thing. Yeah, I got that off the internet. But music, it's a day the music died, but it's really, the music took off. And Buddy Holly was a part of that, and people learning from him, and he just laid a lot of work down for a lot of people. He
Cool.
really did. Did a great job, Buddy Holly.
So what are you going to sing now?
Oh, I believe it's Peggy Sue.
Peggy Sue.
I think so.
Pretty, 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 pretty Peggy Sue. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Neil Hammond doing Peggy Sue.
If you knew Peggy Sue, then you know why I feel blue about Peggy. My Peggy Sue. Well, I love you, girl, and I need you, Peggy Sue. Peggy Sue, Peggy Sue. Pretty, 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 pretty Peggy Sue. Oh, Peggy. My Peggy Sue. Well, I love you, girl, and I need you, Peggy Sue.
Wow.
That was his hit song at the time too. That he was performing at the last Winter Dance. It was Peggy Sue that's on that chart that you see there, the poster.
Wow. Well, that was short and sweet, but I think that everybody got the essence of that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's a lot more to the song, but it's kind of hard to memorize it all, especially when you get my age, So. But that's where it was, and he also had "Oh Boy" was Buddy Holly's song, yep. And I'm not sure. I think we can put that on, I guess, and go up and do a little bit of "Oh Boy" maybe.
That sounds good to me. So as you can see, we're bringing the guest on. He takes over the show. He becomes the host. He becomes a director. So without further ado, get up there and start singing for me, sir.
Okay. All my love all my kissing. You don't know what you've been missing, oh boy. Oh, when you're with me, oh boy. You got the world to see that you were meant for me. Shadows of birds are calling. You can hear my heart a-calling. A little bit of love makes everything right. I'm gonna see my baby tonight. Well, all my love, all my kissing. You don't know what you've been missing, oh boy. Oh, when you're with me, oh boy. You got the world to see that you were meant for me.
Wow.
That was
Once
another
again,
big song.
once again,
That was
come on
another
back.
big song of his. So, you know, Gary Busey played Buddy Holly in the movie.
I remember seeing that.
So I'm not sure. I think that Buddy Holly became Gary Busey. I think everybody thinks Gary Busey is Buddy Holly. You know, I think he lives on. You know?
I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
But, you know, let's go back a little bit. We've got a little bit of time left, and we were talking about, you know, the day that the music died, but let's talk a little bit of some of the anecdotal things and some of the rumors and some of the mystery that surrounded that day, because they were playing with a bunch of other performers. And there were some rumors and stories going on out there that some should have been on that plane who weren't, and some were on that plane who shouldn't have been. So why don't you give us a little brief history of how that whole thing transpired?
Yeah, so there's a lot of talk on the internet about the coin toss. Who flipped the coin?
Yep.
And I've listened to a lot of people. I listened to Richie Valens' sister. She's up on there. Dion from the Belmonts is on. He's up there on it, and he's telling his story. And Waylon Jennings got his story. And Tommy Allsup has his story. Now, Tommy Allsup,
I don't know Tommy Allsup.
yeah, well, Tommy Allsup was Buddy Holly's guitar player, because when they went on this tour, he couldn't use the crickets because he had a contract under contract. So he had to go on and put a group together, and that's where Waylon Jennings came in, playing the bass guitar, which he really never played it. Buddy said, you got a month to learn it. He threw it at him, he said. That's what Waylon said. And he said he had a month to learn it. And Tommy Allsup was his guitar player that he brought in. So that was their group, and I guess they brought a drummer in, somebody else. I don't know who that was. So Tommy Allsup says he flipped the coin on the plane, and with Richie Valens. And Waylon Jennings said he had flipped the coin, and he let the Big Bopper go because he had the flu. He was very sick, and he felt that he had to see a doctor. Now, that was right out of Waylon Jennings' mouth on YouTube. It's up there telling his story. So it all makes a lot of sense. Dion had said that you needed a DC-10 airplane to put everybody on it, who said they flipped the coin. Right. So this story took on a life of its own, which is not really important to the whole story. Right. The story is we lost 3
absolutely
great people.
And I think what even made it, you know, or added to the tragedy was the fact that the pilot who was flying the plane supposedly was not certified and properly trained to fly in bad weather. And he flew the plane anyway.
Yes, right.
And that he was not supposed to have been flying that plane.
Yeah, it was the times, I guess, that you could get away with these things. You know
yeah, you wouldn't get away with that stuff today.
It's just so hard to believe that it happened because of what you're saying. The pilot should have never been flying. And you feel sad that they weren't figured it out or smart enough not to take the plane. But the bus, the heating system on the bus broke down. Yep. And up there in Iowa and the farm countries, I mean, it would get like 25 below, they said on the
Right.
internet.
Right.
Oh my God, and you're getting on a bus, you're tired, your clothes are dirty, these guys want to get cleaned up.
Right.
So the temptation of taking a plane and hopping over and it being there at a short time to take a shower.
And it was
watch-
interesting. It was interesting to hear that. What was the plane ride was going to cost them $37?
$37, yes.
And they were saying that that would be a month's rent.
For the family,
back
yeah.
in the
Their mother
day.
and father paid that for a month's rent.
Exactly.
You know?
Now, I know that we're not going to have a lot of time to talk about this, and I think it would be something that could merit another show, is that it would be interesting to project what the music scene would have become, what the way that music would have gone had that plane not crashed and had they lived.
That's interesting.
What could have Buddy Holly
interesting.
produced?
Yeah.
Where would Richie Valens have
Right.
taken music?
Right.
Because it was obvious
Wow.
how innovative and creative, especially Buddy Holly, how
Right.
he changed the sound of music with that guitar riff and everything.
Yeah. Wow.
Where music would have gone had that day not happened.
Right.
And I think that's something that we might be able to speculate on another show.
Well, like you're talking about Buddy Holly, he took the show on the road without the crickets. He pulled the guitar player to Waylon Jennings, who was nobody at that time, who became a legend, and played the bass guitar, which he didn't even play.
Wow.
And amazing. And all Tommy Allsop Tommy Allsop is his name. He's had a career. And I researched him somewhat, but he's someone I didn't know either until I started looking it up. But
Yeah.
he went on and had a music career for a long time, so
Yep.
he did okay with that also, you know,
Right.
on the whole thing. So
Right.
definitely.
So other than that, let's look back on those days. How long have you been playing the guitar? Was that something that inspired you to pick up the guitar and play as a result of that?
Yeah, I'm sure it played a part. Of course, you always dreamed as a 14, 15-year-old kid.
You always
and
wanted to be Buddy Holly.
I sing with my buddies on the corner, and I'm sure if you was there with me, you and I would have been stars, Frank.
You took the words
know
right
what
out
I
of
mean?
you took the words right out of
Hey,
my mouth, man.
so
And
we would have
we
been
lived so
singing.
close together that
Yeah.
we would have done a little bit of
Oh, yeah.
street corner symphony.
I
you know?
did. I sang with my buddies, and we tried to write songs. We weren't very good at that time at it, and we did. We had one I think could have been a hit if we only had somebody guiding us, maybe
Right.
a little better. We had no one.
Right.
We would just sing on the corners and try to put words and lyrics to the songs.
Well, that's my problem. I've written a lot of songs, and I've been very creative, and I have narrowed all of my my songwriting and writing talents. I've narrowed it down to two things. I got everything down except two things: words and music.
I knew that was
Other
coming.
than that,
I knew that.
Other than that,
I knew it.
was it
Here
that
it goes.
obvious? Oh,
Here's the
man.
punchline. It's coming. You know
where
Okay. Hey, so now what people may not have known that Dion and the Belmonts were at the last winter dance, and they were playing there, and they don't get any billing on that at all. The day the music died, there it is, Dion and the Belmonts. So they was on the poster, and they had the hit songs out there, and needless to say, they had a great career, and they just did some beautiful, beautiful music. I love it.
Right before the show, I told you that I had seen Dion about a month or
Yes.
so ago, and I tell you, he was been out there for 50 years, and it was unbelievable. So I think that you and I need to kind of wind down this show.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen at home, thank you so much for tuning in, and Neil, thank you so much for being here.
Frank, it was great to be here with you.
So tune in and tune on, folks, and we are going to bring you out with a little surprise. Take it away.
Is my story sad but true? It's about a girl that I once knew. She took my heart and tore it apart. Da 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 da. Messed the word up there. Hey, hey, my